Yes, 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 yes. Ta-da, we're back. It's Statistically Speaking. Jack, I'm super excited because obviously Liverpool are playing tonight. Before we begin this show, strong lineup from Liverpool. It's looking pretty strong, the lineup.
Yeah, I was quite surprised actually. I thought we'd see a few of the youngsters again, but he's gone. I wonder if it's because we've got the Community Shield next week.
Yeah, I'm
He's
thinking
he's, he's started
definitely
to get
Community Shield.
that rhythm into place now.
Yeah, we need to see what our best team is as well. We've
Yeah.
seen two preseason. I think we'll see the younger players a bit later on. But for everybody that is joining into this show, please get involved in the comments. We want to hear your questions. We want to pin your comments because today we're talking about the front five and who could potentially start the season in that front three. I know I said front five then. That didn't make sense, did it? But you know what I mean. 5 players that could be in that front three. We want to see who's going to start there, who Klopp is going to prefer this season. Now, during this show, we've not got James the Brain, who's normally here, but James the Brain is being very unpunctual, for want of a better word. So James the Brain is very unpunctual, but you've got your regulars, the best two on the show, myself and Statman Jack. Statman Jack, before we start, tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Anfield Analytics on Twitter and Instagram.
Yes, get over there, follow, because the things that we speak about on this show will also be on Jack's page. But not only that, you'll have a greater in-depth look at different things as well. So make sure you get over there, make sure you follow, and make sure you hit subscribe and hit like on this show. But let's get this show underway because today we are talking all about that front three. So let me pull up something right here now. So let's look about the forwards. I want to play a little game. We always play a little game, Jack. You know we always play games on this show, and I like to test Jack. Even though he's come up with some of these stats, I like to test him. So our forwards that we're going to focus on, they are Luis Diaz, Diogo Jota, Mohamed Salah, Roberto Firmino, and Darwin Núñez. So they're the 5. We've not included the likes of Elliott. We've not included Cade Gordon and people like this because we want like for like. So our problem with Liverpool, I feel, Jack, is that in recent seasons, when one person gets injured, the replacement for that person, if it's not an attacker, because our attack's been really good, is normally a standard below. So we've included these, haven't we? Because we feel like if any of these replace any other player, the standard is still up there as Liverpool quality.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've seen a couple of times that Oxlade-Chamberlain's gone to the right wing, and it's not a like-for-like replacement, is it? So having these 5 is probably the best sample we can use.
I never want to see Alex in Wonderland on the right wing again. Alex stays in the... In fact, Alex, I don't mean any disrespect. Stay on the bench. Do you know what? Maybe even just I'm not going to go there today, but just, let's start the show anyway before I start slating Alex in Wonderland. Now, we've got heat maps up. Everyone in the comments as well, you can get involved. Check out the heat maps. I want you now, Jack, to try and put the correct player from those 5 with the correct heat map. So I think you might do this. I think when you look at it, it kind of speaks for itself. But go on, let me see what you come up with.
Okay, so bottom right is definitely Salah, and top right is definitely Diaz. Now, I think the bottom left will probably be Firmino, just because of how deep he drops. The other 2 is quite similar, isn't it? But I think I'd probably go with top left as Núñez and the top middle as Jota.
Okay, let's see if he's right. Statman Jack. Let's see if the knowledge is actually there. Statman Jack has nailed it! Every single one right. Now, when you look at these, we like pulling heat maps up because they do say a lot about, obviously, a player's positioning during a game. We all know Bobby Firmino gets about everywhere, but when you look at Jota's there, Jota's kind of started to adopt that kind of Firmino role, hasn't he? He came in as a left winger, which is why he's predominantly got the left-hand side on there because he does operate from that side. But last season, we saw him in that number 9 centre-forward role, didn't we?
Yeah, I think it was pretty much split quite evenly between him playing on the left and playing up top. And obviously playing up top, he plays a bit of a different role, and that's why you see him dropping a bit deeper in those central areas as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. When you look at Nunes, that was a surprising one for me because yes, we know that he likes to drift out left, but it looks heavily on the left hand side. Whereas you've got Jota, you've got Firmino, which is kind of a mix of all across the field. It's clear that Nunes likes to play on that left hand side, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think from memory, he likes to take. That's where he likes to shoot. To be honest, he likes to go to that, for that far post as well. You've seen it against us. He scored that type of goal.
Yeah.
That's his style. It's what he likes to do. So I don't think he played too many games on the left, but it is an option if we want to use him there because he obviously likes to drift out there anyway.
Completely agree. We've got Latif saying, wow, Jota's work rate is incredible. It really is.
Yeah.
Jota's work rate is really improving under Klopp. I feel like that's something Klopp always adds to players, is work rate. But it's not about work rate. It is a little bit if you're a forward, but it's not mainly about work rate. What we like to see is we like to see goals. So we've just pulled up this stat on the screen. We've got goals. And it's, bearing in mind, this is just last season. And we've not taken Diaz's stats from Porto. We've just taken his time at Liverpool. So we've got Nunes from Benfica. We've got Diaz for his half a season that he was at Liverpool. And you'll see how that kind of works out because we've got the per game stats to follow. So stay tuned for that. But goals, when you talk about goals, it's crazy to look because you would think Mo Salah is going to eclipse everyone. Nunes is a goal machine, isn't he, Jack?
Yeah, he just gets in those right positions, doesn't he? And he can score any type of goal as well with his head, left, right foot. Yeah, he's just clinical, especially last season anyway.
He is very clinical. But when we also talk about goals, you look at Diaz there and people might be thinking, oh, no, he doesn't get enough goals. But bearing in mind it's half a season, his first half a season at Liverpool, you could easily double that and then maybe add a bit more the more comfortable he gets for a full season. But Firmino, 11 goals last season. We know he was in and out the side, but that stint from the AFCON where Firmino and Jota were playing, that partnership, I really enjoyed seeing that partnership. Is that something Klopp should maybe look towards for this season, or do you think we're not going to see it so much because Nunes is obviously coming?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we'll see it as often, but it's always good to know we can rely on it if we do need it. Like I said, that we had it for about 6 weeks, didn't we, where we had to rely on these two, and it helped. Without them, we wouldn't have been nearly winning a quadruple last season.
Tonight's an interesting one because tonight we've lined up and we've got Diaz, Firmino, and Salah. Mm-hmm. Now, I think this could be how we start the season, if I'm completely honest, because we've seen Nunes playing, and we'll probably allude to this a little bit further down the show, but Nunes and Diaz, very similar in the way they move, in the fact that none of them drop deep. They like to get in behind. They like to get the ball and dribble, which you'll see later on. Do you think Firmino's kind of that perfect player to bring all that front three together and operate as a system?
Oh, 100%. He's done it for the last few years for us, hasn't he? Just drops deep and he allows the two wingers to then come inside, and he creates those goals for us through his play. But like I said, Nunes, different style of player, but we'll get to that.
We will get to that. But what we want to look at, assists as well, because obviously as a forward, you've got to be able to create as well. Mo Salah is in a league of his own. The guy that they all say, oh, Mo doesn't pass. He never passes. He's the greedy one. Like, that's crazy for a goal scorer to get 16 assists in a season. But not only that, to top the Premier League creator charts, to top the goal scoring charts. Mo Salah was in a league of his own last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, it is crazy to think he scored that many goals, but also created so many goals. And think about the amount of times that people had to go at him last season as well for not passing. Like, how many more would he have got?
Yeah, that's it. It's mad. But Jota as well stands out. And I didn't expect this from Jota. I didn't know that he got that many assists last season. Like, when you look at it all together, 47 for Mo is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Nunes, we can tell, is a goal machine, but 30 goals, 29. But to get around 30 goals and assists in a season, that's like a top-level forward, a top-level striker. But Jota, at the minute, you could argue that he's maybe fourth, even fifth choice.
Yeah, do you know what? I think it's a lot to do with the way you watch him play. It looks like he's not doing anything in the game, but then he'll just you look at the end results and he's got 2 goals.
Yeah, yeah,
and you've not seen him for 80 minutes.
It's mad, isn't it?
So I think that's why fans don't really think of him as a first 11 player.
Yeah, that's actually true, because when he came as well, he was coming off the bench and scoring goals. He likes to make an impact. I think of the Arsenal game in the cup when he came on, and he was unbelievable. In fact, I think he started that game. Was it Leicester? Start. It was Leicester.
Yeah.
And he came on and he changed that game completely when we were down and out, and we came back, and obviously that went to penalties and we won. But Jota, he doesn't have that vibe where everybody's screaming for him to start the game. He doesn't have anything special in terms of he's a dribbler, he's an electric player who everyone likes to see. He's just a consistent workhorse who is fantastic aerially, he's clinical. I love Jota, and I think he should get more game time, Jack.
I mean, it's very similar to how people perceive Firmino, really.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's hard to live up to the dribbling and the speed of Diaz and Salah and Mane when we had him. So the fact that he's still producing these type of numbers is just amazing.
It is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But we look at Diaz and we can't kind of judge Diaz properly. 6 and 5 looks brilliant, especially next to Firmino's 11 and 5, and that's in half a season. But what I want to do is I want to go on to something else, and it gives us more of an accurate representation of how well Diaz has been doing. So, Jack, I'm going to challenge you though a little bit. I've put this on and I've gone goals per 90. I've not put the players on for a reason, because I want you to tell me who you think was top of the charts out of these 5 for goals per 90 minutes last season. It is. So it's when you think, you're like, oh, Salah, but then you think, is it? And it's game time as well.
Yeah. So you want me just to guess in order who's?
You can just guess the top. Just guess the top person. So who do you think tops the list for goals per 90 minutes?
So based off the fact that Nunes and Salah both got the same amount of goals, I reckon Salah played a lot more games. So I'm going to go with Nunes as top.
Done with Nunes. Let's see the list. It is Nunes. Now, I'm going to read these out because these stats are very interesting. Top of the list, Darwin Nunes. 0.95 goals per 90 minutes. That's nearly averaging a goal a game.
Yeah,
now,
that's crazy.
He's come into Liverpool and everybody's putting unnecessary pressure on what he's doing. You've got to settle into a team. We are trying to adjust to him. For example, Trent's got to adjust. He needs to know what his runs are going to be. He's never played in this front three with a Diaz, with a Salah. It's a different level. But 0.95 goals per game, you're guaranteed a striker that's going to fill his boots this season, aren't you? Or even if he doesn't this season, when he starts to play regularly for Liverpool.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there with the way he's playing at the moment. He's just trying to find his feet in the system. He doesn't even know the language. So you can see him, and it's the same with Carvalho. You see them looking around thinking, where am I supposed to be?
Yeah.
So they're just trying to find the feet at the moment, which is absolutely fine. But with Liverpool's track record over the past few seasons on transfers, the amount of money we spent on him, I've got a lot of trust in that he's going to be a good player for us.
I've got a lot of trust he's going to be. Do you know what we do every show as well? We do the betting banker. Now, for anyone that's just tuning in, the betting banker is when you place a solid bet to secure kind of something that's going to happen this season. Or it might even happen tonight. Mine could be about tonight. I don't know yet. But betting banker for me is that everyone's already doubting Nunes. Nunes is going to come out of this season for me. We look at last season, 31 goals in all competitions. I'm going to go with 25 this season for Liverpool. 25 plus goals for Liverpool this season for Darwin Nunes. So that's my betting banker. And do you know what? I'm going to put another one on. I think he's going to score tonight. I think he's going to get on the pitch tonight, and I think he's going to get a goal tonight. I'm banking on.
Yeah, on I hope he does. I hope he does. It just shuts everyone up then.
Exactly, and just let him. Yeah. He needs that goal, and we always say about strikers, you need that goal to get the motion rolling. But that's my betting banker for this season. Let me just do it again. Betting banker for this season is 25 plus goals for Nunes. But we look down the list. Firmino third on the list.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that.
Exactly. We've got Salah obviously second, 0.65, which is a great return. Mm-hmm. But Firmino, 0.51. That's a goal every 2 games. Or if we're going off per 90 minutes, it's a goal every 180 minutes.
Yeah.
So to speak. So that's a great. Like, we think Firmino doesn't score goals.
Yeah.
Last season, if we look back and think about how he was performing, he was getting the goals at crucial times when we needed them, wasn't he?
Yeah, do you remember the Inter Milan away?
Yeah.
That header, Arsenal away as well in the league. He does get crucial goals for us. I think just a lot of people just think about he doesn't score at Anfield.
Yeah,
and they just focus on that, don't they?
Yeah, all the home fans are like, we don't care what happens anywhere else. It's just what happens at Anfield. But no, I completely agree. What I want to do is I want to move on to the next one. I want to do the assist per 90 now. So, Jack, you've got another challenge now. So, assist per 90. Who do you think tops the list for assist per 90 minutes?
It's got to be Salah, hasn't it?
Gonzalo?
Yeah, it's top.
Okay. It is Mo Salah. It's crazy because of the number of assists he got. It had to be Salah because it was crazy. Yeah. But what I want to point out is Diaz in second place, like you just said. It's the Diaz second and Nunes at the bottom now. Nunes is that goal scorer, but Diaz can get goals. But what we're not giving him credit for enough is the amount of chances or goals that he creates. Now, it might be off the back of a shot or a deflection, but he's making things happen, isn't he, that people within our squad cannot do. He offers something different.
Yeah, I mean, the way he plays, I think a few defenders have said last season he was one of the toughest opponents to play against last season. So the teams are going to try and double up on him, which means it's going to create space elsewhere. And that's why he's getting those chances to create for other players.
100% agree with you. And I don't think he's getting enough credit from people because he's not scoring the goals that they want him to. But I think he's making a rod off his own back because what he's doing is he's creating so many chances. He's hitting so many shots. He's getting in the positions, but maybe his conversion rate isn't as high, but he's still getting those chances. Just like Sadio did. If you think of Sadio
just going to say.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Sadio had to take a lot, didn't he?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Sadio Mane, when he came, he was exactly the same. And then by the time he left, he was scoring 20-odd goals a season.
Exactly. Diaz is going to be the guy. I'm telling you now, Diaz is this is why I've labelled the show Luis Diaz, the key to success. Because I really think last season, without Diaz, we don't get anywhere near calling out for a quadruple. We don't get anywhere near a double last season because that game against Chelsea in the FA Cup final, I think it was the FA Cup, I feel like Diaz was just on another level. Good.
Yeah.
On another level. But let's have a look then. Last one, shots per 90 minutes. So who do you think unleashes the most shots per 90 minutes?
I'll go with Nunes.
Gone with Nunes. Okay. Ooh, I'm just looking. I like looking. Do you know? Even though I've done it, I like to look at it to see what it's saying.
Oh,
So
it's Nunes.
here we
Oh.
go. So shots per 90 minutes. We've got Salah first with 3.8, then Diaz 3.4, then Nunes 3.0, then we've got Jota 2.7, Firmino 2.1. This is so interesting because, like we've just alluded to, Diaz is constantly trying to find the goal. He's constantly having these shots. Now, it's roughly the same amount as what Salah's doing, but Salah's a little bit more clinical. But what I will say is that Salah finds himself in that final position. It's an easier finish, whereas Diaz is doing very much what we used to see Coutinho do, cutting from the right-hand side, hit shots, and those shots might lead to deflections, they might lead to corners. These shots are leading to things which is giving Liverpool a different dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah, he likes to cut it and go for that far corner, doesn't he? Where Salah, I think he does. He used to do that a lot, Salah, when he first joined. But you see him getting closer to goal these days.
Yeah.
So you never know this season because Diaz could be molding into that this season.
I completely agree. No, when we look at the shots, I want to just go with the shots on target because it baffled me a little bit in terms of Nunes, unbelievable accuracy, 51% of his shots on target. Now, he's only having 3 shots per game, but then you look at his expected goals. His expected goals for last season were 18.5. He scored 31 goals, which is that just shows how clinical Nunes is, doesn't it? And that's the player that we've all been asking for. We've not got a player within our squad, I feel, that is this clinical. Yes, Salah scores, but to be this clinical, expected 18.5 goals and he scored 31. That's remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not a common thing whatsoever, and a lot of people would say that next season he might actually underachieve what he should be scoring to kind of even it out, which is a bit of a worry. But what the crazy thing is that we're asking for someone to be clinical, and we score so many goals as it is already.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like we want. I think what the thing is, when you look at Real Madrid in the Champions League final, if we have a Nunes maybe who is clinical, we win that game. But because Courtois was unbelievable.
That's the issue, wasn't it?
Courtois was sensational. The Sadio Mane shot, the Mo Salah one towards the end of the game, they're guaranteed goals any other day of the week.
Yeah.
But we still say that we need someone clinical because maybe Nunes finishes a different way. Maybe Nunes puts it in a different corner. It'd be interesting to see what the outcome would have been with a Nunes, but I think we're going to get to see a glimpse of that this season, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually really excited to see him play this season and see how he plays, how he does.
I can't wait to see him play. No, I've called this show Luis Diaz, the key to success, because there's a lot of things that Diaz does that we don't see. Now, as a forward, what you've got to be is you've got to be good at passing and distributing the ball now. It's not just about runs in behind, scoring goals. You've got to be efficient, especially in this Liverpool side. So I want to go on to passes because passes per 90 minutes, you've got Firmino with top of the list with 39, which you would expect because Firmino likes to drop deep. Then we've got Diaz with 37. Now, I was surprised because the ball comes into Mo so much. With so many assists as well, you would expect Mo maybe to be distributing the ball a bit more. Then we've got Jota with 27.1, and then we've got Nunes with 17.72. I like that Nunes is low. I like it because he's just focused on scoring goals. He's not going to be that player that drops deep, and this is a different dimension to Liverpool, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes you wonder what type of system we are going to play with Nunes in the team. because we're so used to having that number 9 drop in deep. Nunes is complete. It's the opposite. He's running the other way. He's getting in behind that back line and trying to score.
Literally.
So,
and
it's going to be interesting.
This is what I love about having him, is giving us that different option. This is why I've been forcing a little bit too much in pre-season, because Trent's excited now because he's got that player that's going to run in behind. But we'll look at that a little bit later on, because I've got a little bit more about that later on. But we talk about Diaz in this passing, because it's all well and good making so many passes, but it's how many passes you're going to complete. There's no point trying to make a pass if it's not going to be complete. Diaz tops the list for pass completion percentage, as well as having a high number. Now, what I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, the more passes, usually you'll see a lower percentage rate because of the amount of passes that are going in, if everybody was on the same kind of level of passes. So, for example, you've got Mo Salah 32 passes, and then you've got Diaz 37. You'd expect maybe the completion rate to be similar in those two, but 88% completed with Luis Diaz out of those passes, 37 per game. Second on the list was Bobby Firmino, 81%, which we probably would have expected. And then you've got Mo Salah, 80%. 3 players within 80%. As a forward, when you're in the final third, trying to make a pass or play a through ball and trying to break the lines, it's unbelievable. Diaz, 88%, Jack. That's what people don't see. He's so good at retaining the ball.
Yeah, I mean, 88%, that's something that you'd expect from a defender, not an attacker. Like you said, they're trying to find that final killer ball.
Yeah.
So more often than not, you would expect them to sometimes miss because they haven't reached the last man or the target. But to get 88%, that's ridiculous in that position.
It's madness. It's absolute passing monster. And that's not something that I would have said Diaz has in his game.
No.
If you watch Diaz, you think, oh, he's got the tricks, he's got the work rate, maybe he's got the dribbling, but passing wasn't something that I associated with him, which is starting to make me think, is there a possible position change available for Diaz the further the season goes on? I don't know.
Where would you put him?
Well, I was going to bring this to the back end of the show, but I'll say it now, and then we'll talk about it a bit more. I think Diaz, if you look at how Liverpool operate traditional, they're not going to play with a number 10. They like a centre forward. Now, when you look at the numbers and Diaz running in behind, which I'm going to allude to later, it doesn't suggest that he likes to do that. It suggests that he likes to come short, pick the ball up, play a pass, maybe try and beat a defender. I think Diaz could be a centre forward more towards further on in his career, especially with Nunes, who I think would be sensational on the left-hand side as well, playing off a Diaz. It's if you want those 3 players playing together, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to work with Diaz left, Nunes in the middle, and Salah on the right. There are our 3 best attackers if you had to choose, I would say. But that formation doesn't work, in my opinion. But I think maybe a switch to Diaz at centre forward, or maybe even Mo at centre forward and Diaz on the right, with Nunes on the left, I think that might work a little bit more. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm not sure whether you miss out on his dribbling on the left and what do you gain from him being up top. And we've said about his goals at the moment, and he's still missing a lot of chances. Would that weigh out?
You make a great point, because the next part was dribbling. I like how you've done that, Jack. There. Dribbling next. Well, dribbling is the next. And would you say, off the top of your head, would you say that Diaz was the best dribbler within the team? Or would you say maybe Mo Salah dribbles the ball a little bit more, or Bobby Firmino? Who would you say is that go-to guy for dribbling?
Yeah, I think just off the bat, you'd probably say Diaz is the main man for dribbling. Probably Salah in second. Yeah,
well, you're completely right, because Diaz, if I've got this right here, Diaz has 7.19 dribbles per game, which is mad. 7. But when we talk about dribbles, for people that are watching the show, we know, because we do these stats all the time, what dribbles means. But it's not just picking the ball up and moving forward, because in that sense, that's a progressive run.
Mhm.
So progressive runs, picking the ball up, and I think it's moving 5+ yards with the ball, or is it 10+? It's a bit
I think it's
more.
about 10, yeah.
10+ yards with the ball. Now, dribbling is actively trying to take a man on, so trying to beat a defender. So 7 times in a game
I
is
don't want to be that
absolutely.
defender.
Imagine, that is crazy. But then you look across, and then we've got Mohamed Salah, who's got 6.46 per game, which is right
Still
up
high,
there
yeah.
with him. Then you've got Nunes, who's 5.84 as well. So we look at it again, and this is why I'm saying, do these three work together? Because we've got 3 guys who love to dribble. And then you look at Jota and Bobby, 4 for Jota, 2 for Bobby, which shows that maybe they do like being that target man. Maybe they do like being the kind of link. Does a Bobby and a Jota get a lot of game time this season just because they're not going to be the same as everybody else?
Oh, yeah. Do you know what? I just haven't got a clue what Klopp's going to do at all. I really don't know. Like I said, with those 3 being the top 3 dribblers out of the 5, you'd expect there to be a number 10 behind if you were going to play with all 3 of them.
And we know Klopp's not going to do that.
No.
It's so frustrating, isn't it? Because we did the stat show the other week, and we highlighted Carvalho.
Yeah.
And what Carvalho did, and I should have put the video up on here, is he picks the ball up, he gets rid of it quickly, but then he's looking to run in behind and get into the box. We've seen Carvalho in these last few weeks. He's not done that at all, has he? Well, he's done it. I say he's not done that at all. He's got into the box. He has done that. But he's not been playing those passing moves and getting forward. And it seems like when Klopp puts someone in this system, there's a lot of confusion about, do I have to defend? Am I allowed to go forward? Do you think you need to let a player like Carvalho play in that 10 and be free?
I don't think so for our system. I don't think we can have any passengers. I think, unfortunately, I think Coutinho, we could have allowed it because we were starting. We basically built that team around Coutinho at the time.
Yeah.
Whereas now we've got a system, we've got a philosophy. We need the players to fit into that philosophy.
It's so hard to hear it, but it's so true.
Yeah.
Because we've got those creative players who, with a bit of freedom, could do some magical things.
I know.
I'd just love to see it. I think what fans want is just show us for one game, just see what it would be like. And then if it doesn't work, fair enough, we understand your system. That's how it works. But to have a Carvalho and not let him do what he does best, to have a Jones and an Elliott and not allow them to do what they do best, it burns me inside sometimes. But it's like Jared's saying here, Diaz is one of our few press-resistant players with Fabinho and Thiago. The rest of the team play hot potato with the ball and get rid of it as soon as possible, which can lead to losing possession. I completely agree with the fact that Diaz is always looking. And I like that you've gone with Fabinho and Thiago as well, because they are very progressive in the way they play. Fabinho and Thiago start off a lot of our attacking moves or start to get us in on goal because they look to go forward. They look to step past the defender. Diaz is the one that he picks the ball up and he squares a man up straight away, doesn't he? And he looks to dribble it. And when I'm looking at these stats, successful dribbles, again, Diaz is the highest percentage on successful dribbles, which again, he does the most dribbles and he's got the highest percentage. Yeah. That's crazy. Like, if he's doing that many dribbles, you expect the percentage to be a little bit lower because the more times you try it, it's just natural that the more times you're probably going to give the ball away. It's just natural science. Do you know what I mean? But to be the top, 58%. And then after that, we've got Nunes with 55%. Great dribblers. Like, we need to use this more, don't we?
Yeah. I mean, it's like what I said before. I still don't know what we're going to play. I'm just so confused. Does it mean that, like, what happens if we play Nunes? I feel like that is where we're going to be going down. the route of. We wouldn't have paid that much money for him if
Yeah,
we weren't going to use him. But what happens if he gets injured? Do we revert back to a 4-3-3?
exactly. This is why I worry about what Klopp's going to do, because Klopp will think about these things. If Nunes is injured, we can't play the Nunes system if we're going to play with a 10. But if we've been playing it all season, everyone's going to be used to that, and then can they revert back? I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, we're going to be training with it all week for each game, and then suddenly have to drop it because we've got no other player that can play like him.
Yeah, and this is why I wonder, is there a possibility that we could have Diaz in that hole? Because as much as we've signed Nunes as a number 9, there's no reason why he can't be a number 9 from the left-hand side. Look at what Suarez did. Look at what Thierry Henry did. 2 of the greatest goal-scoring forwards that the Premier League's ever seen, who operated from the left-hand side. Nunes is very much in that Suarez mold. He's got the Suarez about him, the hunger, the same country, obviously. But he's also got the Torres, where he can stop the ball, then go again and beat a player and finish clinically. Torres, for me, was a clinical finisher, whereas Suarez had those world-class goals in him. He created magical moments, but Torres was so clinical. Nunes has this. So Nunes from the left, do you think we could see it this season maybe a little bit more?
Yeah, Joe, you could. We know he can play there. We know he likes to drift out there. And then that could give time for Firmino and Jota to get in that central forward position.
It very much could. I want to go to this comment from Latif. Diaz and Carvalho, they also bring fouls in dangerous areas. We could potentially see more set-piece goals next season. Another great point. And I don't think we've got enough players that can do set pieces. I think we rely on Trent a lot. We kind of need that left footer. And I don't know about you, I think Costas Tsimikas could be that kind of player. I think he's got that left-footed wand inside. So, again, bringing a lot of fouls to the team. And I think we have got fouls on this list. Fouls suffered per 90 minutes. So, we've got Nunes with 1.23. Then we've got Salah with 1.26. And then again, Diaz, 1.35. He's screaming out that. This is why I've put Luis Diaz the key to success, because all these attributes, aside from goals, aside from assists, it's what you need to be successful. That guy who turns the game on its head, the guy that kind of makes the magic happen before the magic actually happens. Do you know, like the assist before the assist? I think that's why Diaz is crucial. If you're Klopp, is he now one of the first names on the team sheet, or do you think he's going to be rotating Diaz still like he did last season?
I don't really think he rotated them that much last season.
It's true. When he came in, he did throw him straight in, didn't he? But we saw him maybe in a few games.
Yeah.
He would
I think it was the Carling Cup final. He didn't start, did he? And he came on later on. But no, I do think he will be a first name on the team sheet along with Salah and Van Dijk.
I agree with you. And we'll just stick to dribbling for a second, because it's the way they retain the ball and they keep possession. Because another thing is, you might be able to dribble, but you might lose the ball. And that your dribble percentage still might be high because you beat a player, but then you might give the ball away by miscontrolling it going out of play, or by heavy touch going to the goalkeeper. But again, and I'm reiterating this, and I know we're covering Diaz, but Diaz again, 9.69 losses per 90, the lowest out of all 5 attackers. Then you've got Mo Salah, then you've got Nunes, then you've got Firmino and Jota. Now, I don't want to say we're not throwing shade on Firmino and Jota, because the way I see this now, because these stats, Nunes, Salah, Diaz, they're so similar, Jack, that suggests to me that they're potentially 3 wingers, because they're doing the same job. Each one of them is high in the similar categories. Yes, Diaz is outshining everyone, but the stats are still so high from the other 2. But then you've got Jota and Firmino. These are common stats in a player that will drop deep and play in the hole. So I think Klopp could potentially go with. We could see a lot of Firmino this next season.
Well, to be fair, that's my betting banker, actually.
Oh, let me get it off. Here we go. The betting banker, Jack. Let everyone know what's your betting banker.
So I think it'll be Firmino starting ahead of Nunes for the first 5-6 games of the season.
That's a good shout, actually. That's a very good shout. Also, because Nunes hasn't hit the ground running in pre-season, I think to throw him in at the deep end might be a bit too much. This might be a Fabinho situation. It might be a Robertson situation.
Exactly.
Yes, we've had the Diaz's, we've had the Jotas who can just come straight in. But look at Tsimikas, look at Robertson, look at Fabinho, even Thiago. These world-class players still need time to kind of bed in the system. That's a great shot. Let me do that one more time. Jack's betting banker is that he thinks Firmino could potentially start the first 5-6 games of the season, and we could see Nunes just being conserved a little bit, not throwing him in at the deep end. But I like that one. That's a good one. Now I'm going to speed things on. I'm going to pull up a comment though first, just about today's game. Jared Adlington saying, is Kelleher injured for this game? Kelleher has been injured. He's not been available for the last few games. This is why we do see Adrian in net, because obviously Alisson's out as well. It's madness at the minute, but I can't fault Adrian. Last game he had a good game, so I can't kind of fault Adrian. So let's see what he does. You know what's coming. There's probably going to be a new contract if he has a good game in these pre-seasons for Adrian. Also saying our set-piece ability is dreadful, but you're spot on about Tsimikas. What a foot he has, both left and right. Trent is not good at set pieces, in my honest opinion. It's interesting that you say that, because I understand what you're saying. And do you know what, Jack? That could be a stat that we pull up. We might pull that up. Maybe we could look at who could potentially be good set piece takers for next season. But you've got Van Dijk in the team. Van Dijk at Celtic was very clinical from free kicks and set pieces. But we did see that one against Pickford that was absolutely awful last season. But Trent, I can't say he's not good at set pieces, because he scores a free kick every season. In fact, let me just come on. No. I need another one, because my betting banker has to be that Trent scores at least 2 free kicks this season, because every season he comes out with the goods, doesn't he? It's a crucial goal usually. We see it against West Ham this season, and I know that game isn't one that we want to talk about, but it got us back in the game, and then we let the lead slip away again. He did it against Chelsea the season before.
That was a huge goal, that one.
Yeah, even the clinical clutch goals from outside the box, Trent always seems to come up with the goods. Is he a guaranteed set piece taker? Would you keep backing Trent to be the free kick taker?
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to having Elliott take some.
That's a nice one. Is Elliott left-footed?
Yeah.
That could be a good shout.
I think he'll play quite a few games.
Jared's calling us out. He's saying 2 free kicks out of 200 is not good. I know what you're saying, but free kick conversion rate, it's difficult. It is difficult. You're not going to have a high conversion rate.
I mean, look at Ronaldo's. Ronaldo's is bad.
Exactly. Do you know what? We've got Billy Shepherd with a betting banker. Let's do this. Jack's so embarrassed right now. We've got Billy in the comments saying his betting banker. The team that starts tonight, aside from Adrian, obviously he's right, they can't have Adrian, starts against Fulham. That's a good betting banker. I like that one. Do you, Jack? But Naby Keita is in, not Henderson. Do you think that could be the starting team for the beginning of the season?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a good shout that could be the start of the starting 11 for that game. But I think that's probably why we're seeing it right now, because it's such a short pre-season.
Yeah,
he's just trying to find his best team, isn't he? Straight away.
Completely agree. I want to move on though to aerial ability, because this is something that a lot of people say we've been lacking over the few seasons, and this is what they feel like Nunes could bring because of his height. Now, even though his height brings maybe a presence, I'm not sure, and a few people have alluded to, he could have a better conversion rate, couldn't he, in terms of headed goals and winning those headers and aerial duels. I will pull them up in a second, but what's your thought on this, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many goals he scored with his head last season. I don't think it was many. But yeah, like I said, I think a lot of people do say it's just his presence, isn't it? It's going to attract a few defenders on him. But if you compare it to the likes of Jota, I feel, who's amazing in the air, and he's tiny.
That's it. And a lot of people say it's because Trent's crosses are pinpoint. I think Jota
His
is
movements
so
in the
good.
box.
Thiago as well. Two of the smallest players on our team. And I don't know how. I think Jota isn't as small as you think. I think Jota is 5'10", something like that.
Oh, okay.
So it's not exactly small, but
Taller than me.
Compared to a centre back, that's still, you're looking at 6 foot plus strikers that get as many goals as Jota does from his head. But what we're saying about aerial ability, it's not that Nunes isn't strong aerially, he just doesn't convert his aerial ability into goals. Because we look at this, we've got aerial duels per 90. So what we've got is 3.66 duels for Nunes, 4.43 for Jota. So those two are the leaders in this. But again, we've got Firmino 3.18 and we've got 3 for Diaz. So you're looking at 3 and 4 aerial duels. Now that could just be a lump up field and they've got to contest a header. So that doesn't say anything. It maybe says that the team might direct it to the left-hand side a bit more than the right because Salah isn't aerially as dominant as anyone else. But it's the percentage one that interests me, Jack. 41% of aerial duels won by Nunes, top of the list. Then you've got Firmino, and then you've got Jota. Nunes, because of his height, because of his physicality, he's a very physical player. Should he be looking to get on the end of crosses a little bit more? Or do you think he's just not had that chance at Benfica, but now he's coming up with a Robertson, a Tsimikas, a Trent, a Thiago? This could be very, very lucrative for him this season, his head.
I would expect it to go up this season, that percentage, definitely. But you've got to remember, he's up against defenders whose job it is to win those battles as well.
Exactly.
So to win nearly half of them is pretty decent, I think.
Completely agree. But we talk about aerial ability because that is important. We've looked at that, how many headers they win, how much aerial percentage they've got. But it's the bits you don't see now. Those hungry moments. Would you say Firmino is the godfather of defensive work rate? Is he kind of what centre forwards now model themselves off when managers say they want them to work hard and drop deep and come back on defence?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, whenever you see us press from the front, it always seems to be from Firmino starting it. And I think that's what gives the impression that he's the one that is the workhorse in that front three.
Completely. And I'm looking at the stats, and it's absolutely crazy because we've got 4.83 recoveries per 90 minutes for Firmino, but then we've also got 3.95 for Diaz. So very close to one another, way ahead of anyone else. Not many recoveries, though, for Nunes. 1.94. Is this a side to his game that we all know he needs to work on? Like we saw in training, Thiago says, you've got to run like a mother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So is that something that maybe Nunes hasn't had to do before, so we've not seen these stats? Is it something that we think he can do because he's a hungry player?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he probably wasn't told to do that at Benfica. But yeah, I'd say he probably will do more of that this season, but it could just be because he doesn't drop as deep. So he probably isn't in those type of battles as much.
Yeah.
In comparison to Firmino.
No, I completely agree with that. But another thing with work rate is those duels, isn't it? It's winning the ball back. It's how you come out of those 50-50 challenges. Offensive duels per 90 minutes. Diaz again leading the way, 14.38 per 90. That's on duels. So that just might be you putting yourself in the battle. It doesn't mean that you're always winning these battles. You're putting yourself in the battle. Then we've got Mo. Then we've got Nunes. It's interesting that, isn't it? Because do you think that's because of Liverpool's system? Because we've got high wing backs, you'll look at the wingers and the defensive duels is a little bit higher because they're having to drop back. They're having to maybe press a little bit more than the centre forwards who are trying to fill a gap. Is that why their duels may be higher?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you've seen a few times last season how Salah tracks back to the right back position and Diaz does for the left. But I also think it's just in those players themselves that they just work so hard, don't they? They're just non-stop. They just want to play football. They want to get the ball and be progressive going forward.
I completely agree, 100%. But we also look at percentage because, again, you can put yourself in there, but it doesn't mean you're going to win. 44% for Nunes, highest percentage of offensive duels won. Shows he's not scared of being physical. We saw against Van Dijk and Kanate. Nunes can put himself about and he is no slouch. He's no pushover. So Liverpool's system should fit perfectly for him because we saw that with Diaz, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be. It's going to be really interesting to see how he goes this season. But I mean, there's one thing I've been thinking of, and I don't know how you feel about this, but with the way that our centre backs play, they like to spray the ball to the wings. Do you think with now you see a tall striker up top, do you think they'll be tempted to go down the middle?
That's a great point. I think what it is with long balls, I think the more direct you play them, the easier it is to just go over the head, go to the keeper, and it's just recycled.
Exactly.
Whereas you see professional footballers, they like to play the diagonals because there's a chance that even if it goes out, it's a throw-in the corner and you can put pressure on from the throw-in. So I think we're going to stick to that. I think we're going to stick to the left-hand side. But it is a new option. Nunes through the middle. There may be times where Van Dijk's intellect is on another level. He may see Nunes making the run, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a more central ball, a la Van Dijk to Mane against Bayern Munich in the Champions League.
Exactly.
In 18-19. That ball could be on a lot this season with those attackers that we've got. So it'll be interesting to see, but defensive work rate again, and we've talked about this man all day, but Luis Diaz again, 41%. It's like he does everything. I cannot think of a thing. I can't think of a weakness. So maybe conversion. Maybe people are saying he needs to score more, but that doesn't bother me if you're putting yourself in the right positions. That comes with time. If you're a striker, you work on that. So that's going to come. Can you think of a weakness in Diaz's game after going through all of this?
I don't even know. It probably is just the conversion rate.
Yeah. I'm not saying on your bike to you there, Jack. Don't worry. I'm not telling Jack to get on his bike. I want to just touch on how people running behind or the movement and what we could maybe add this season in terms of runs, in terms of offsides. Now, when I look at offsides, we've got Nunes, who's top of the list. So 1.08 offsides. Now, I like this stat, and I don't know why, but I kind of like it because Liverpool players, we never get offsides. For example, it shows that you're willing to run in behind. If you get caught offside every now and then, plus now it's worth the gamble because the play rolls on. So surely it's worth the risk trying to get in behind, putting the ball in the back of the net and letting VAR do its job. It's worth a risk. Now, with this, one offside per 90 minutes for Nunes, and then everyone else is below 0.5. So he's double everybody else. But I like that because it shows intent. It shows that he's going to be that person to run in behind, play off the shoulder of centre-backs, because I feel like everybody who plays Liverpool now, they feel like they just know that no one's going to spin in behind. Everyone's going to try and pick the ball up short. Salah does it too much for me. He's so fast. He should be doing a one-touch, spinning behind, letting Trent play a ball. But he likes to keep hold of the ball and try and beat a man and draw defenders. Is this something that Liverpool could benefit from, Núñez running in behind?
Yeah, I feel like a few of our players do that, actually. They just slow the tempo down, and it just lets the opposition get in shape and position to defend against us. We make it too easy for them at times to defend us. But with Núñez making those runs, I think it was even when he played against us at Anfield, I think he got like 3 goals or something stupid, didn't he?
Yeah.
And like 1 or 2 of them were offside, but it just shows that he loves playing off that last man.
Yeah, he does. He had an unbelievable game. I think that's actually why Klopp signed him in the end. But again, touches in the box, because this might not allude to getting on your bike, but it means you're willing to maybe follow in that shot, maybe make yourself free in the box. Good movement. 6.27 for Núñez, but Salah 6.92, the king of being in the box. I feel like that's what Salah does so well. But again, we see that Diaz 6.09. So all in the sixes. It shows that we've got a clear divide, haven't we, within our team? We've got a divide of, you can see the players who are going to work for the team and drop deep and play that centre forward role in Jota and Firmino, and then the others are going to make the magic happen. Exactly. That's why I just don't know if we can play all 3 together, because they all want to make the magic happen. You need that special player. Mane last season, I feel like, was that player that gelled Diaz and Salah together a little bit.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thought, to be honest. I never thought of it like that, actually. Yeah, I'm just so intrigued about what's going to happen. I just don't know. I really want to see all 3 of them play and just see how it unfolds.
I want to see them play, and I just want to see lots of combinations. Leave the opposition guessing this season. That's the main thing. Appreciate this from Jared. Appreciate this fire show. Like and sub. Yes, hit the like. Subscribe. If you haven't, let's get to 1K. That is a goal for us. Get to 1K. We've got above 200 so quickly. So thank you so much. But 1K, we want that this season, no doubt. We want to surpass that, and we want to start making big things happen. So thank you very much for that, Jared. But it's time to make some decisions, because we always have a verdict at the end of the show. But before we do that, we've got some stats, but we're not going to pull them up in this show. I feel like the stats we've got, we're going to put them into a post. So you're going to see where different players in different positions rank against each other. So, for example, Jota as a left winger, Diaz as a left winger. Do they perform better in that position, or do they perform better on the right, or as a centre forward? We'll pull those stats up. We'll post that on Instagram. We'll post it on Twitter. So make sure you check that out in the coming days, so you can kind of assess where players are best in what position. But what I want to do now is say who you think could play in these positions this season. So for me, left winger, the obvious choice will be Diaz. But is there anybody else that you think could maybe operate in this left wing position this season for you, Jack?
Jota, and then at a push, Núñez. Yeah, Darwin Núñez.
I think they are the two. I think we won't see Firmino drifting out.
No.
We saw him on the right, though, at some points last season a little bit. But Firmino's going to be a centre forward.
Yeah,
I agree. I think more than anything, I think Diaz, and I think Núñez is going to be that second left winger. I really do. I think if Diaz isn't playing, I think Núñez is going to be the player to play on the left-hand side. I think Jota is so effective as a centre forward now. I feel like that could be his position going forward, but we don't know. Jack's not sure about it.
I'm not sure.
He's not sure.
I mean, Jota's song, he's got him running down the left wing, so
you'll have to change it. Running through the middle. So let's have a look at the next position. Right winger. There's only one man, obviously, the Egyptian king, but this is the problem. We've not signed a replacement. We don't have a natural right winger aside from Cade Gordon, Harvey Elliott, who aren't Mo Salah level, let's be honest, to do what Mo Salah does, to get goals, to get forward. They're not going to do that for us this season. Maybe in future they will. Who do you see out of those 5 potentially replacing Mo Salah if he's injured or if he's rested?
I'd say Diaz, and then putting Jota on the left.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
I think we've seen now that Diaz can do every job on the field.
Exactly. So you can trust him in any position then.
We know he's both footed. I think we might see often this season if Diaz and Salah are playing and something's not going right, I think they could switch. There could be a switch, or maybe Salah could go into the middle and Diaz could go to the right. I think there's a lot of fluidity in that front 3 this season where we could see people interchanging positions. So Diaz, 100% for me, could be a right winger. And this is why Salah could be the centre forward this season. We look at Mane. Mane adapted his game. Maybe Salah. I think Salah would be more of a striker, to be honest. I don't think he'd be a centre forward. I think he'd be off the last man, looking to score goals. But that would still work with Diaz and maybe Jota or Nunes on the left-hand side. But then the final position, like we've just said, centre forward. Who's your tip to play the most games this season at centre forward?
Nunes.
Is it the 85 million?
Yeah.
Is it you thinking we cannot afford to just have him sat on the bench?
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, I do think it'll take a few games before he gets into that position on a regular basis.
Yeah, I like what you're saying. I think Firmino, if Firmino was fit and wasn't coming to the back end of his career, I'm not saying he's not fit because he runs like a madman, but I think because he runs so much, you can't expect him to have that output of a lot of games. I think we could see it from Jota, but I think it's very much going to be what clicks first. Whichever kind of system clicks first. And I know the match has just got underway and we're not going to be long now, but today could be an example. If this clicks, this could be what we see going into the first game of the season. Just like our good old Billy Shepherd said, this is his betting banker to start the season. So I think it could happen. But for me, I'd love to see what Diaz could do at centre forward and Nunes on the left-hand side. I know you're not sold on it, Jack, but do you think it is something that may work for Liverpool, maybe in the future seasons?
I mean, we saw Mane evolve into the centre forward, so you could see Diaz do that. And like we've said, we know Nunes likes to drift in from the left, so they can interchange 2 games anyway. So you might even see it naturally happen.
Completely agree. We've come to that time. We've come to the end of the show, and there's only one thing to do. It's the verdict. So I'm not going to go who starts the season because I feel like that's a bit easier. I'm going to go with left, right, centre forward. What's your main 3 for this season on average? Left, right, centre forward.
So if I was in charge, personally, I'd be looking safe and going with Diaz, Firmino, and Salah. But
I like what you're saying.
But as a fan, I want Nunes in there just for the excitement.
So you'd go Diaz, Salah, Nunes. Yeah,
exactly,
Diaz, Nunes. Do you know what? I like that, what you've said. And there's 3 things you've just said as yourself, as a fan, but there's also Klopp as well.
Yeah.
I think Klopp is going to go with Jota. I've got a feeling that we're going to see Diaz, Jota, Salah a lot this season. We've not seen, don't forget, we've not seen Jota just because he's been injured in pre-season.
Yeah.
So we can't gauge it off that. I feel like Jota would have had plenty game time and no one has really shone from an attacking sense. Diaz has probably been my standout for the way he's performed, but Jota could have grab this as his opportunity. I think he will when he comes back in. I feel like Mane's form last season was the only thing keeping him out. So this season, it's there for the taking. I think Jota might be the main man up front. As a Liverpool manager, I would be going with... I'm with you, I think.
Yeah.
I think I'm with you with Diaz, Salah, Firmino, just as a nice... It's got that everything that you want from a front three about it. But as a fan, again, I want to see Darwin Núñez. If Núñez performs like we all speculate that he could, like the new Suarez, you can't leave that out of the team.
No.
So we'd have to find a system that suited the way that Núñez played, because he would add something that no one else can offer, and we'd need to use that. But it's if he can hit the ground running, which is what we don't know yet. But it's up there to see. We will find out a little bit more tonight because the game is live now. And on that note, I think, let me take this off because I want us both on the screen to finish up. I want to say a massive thank you, first of all, to everybody that has been in the comments, because you've been sensational. You've really got involved. So many more tuning in tonight. Really good. Hit that like, hit subscribe. Please share it across social media. We'll be back next week with something fun, something interesting. The closer to the season we get, the more we're going to crank it up. And during the season, trust me, you want to come in, because we'll be breaking down matches. We'll be breaking down individual players and everything and anything in between. Not just the men's game as well, because we will be covering the women's game too, which is going to be really interesting. But Jack, do you know what? I'm going to let you jump straight off as soon as this intro comes on, because Liverpool are on, so no need to hang around. It's been a pleasure again. You're a superstar. This is one of my favorite shows. I love breaking down the stats. Thank you so much. Find Jack on Anfield Analytics. Jack, thank you. It's been a pleasure. You'll never walk alone. Peace, everybody.